thank you. And I want to say something to make sure that we are going to fly a better place. Especially for me, I'm gonna finish this one. I'm so happy now. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am Susan, and my school is屏东至正Junior High School. Today's topic is implementing active learning in English class. In the following presentation, there are 6 parts. Number 1, reflection after SFU. From number 2 to 4, the introduction of the action plan. Number 5, the most effective the teaching idea. And the last one, the reflection after the entire action plan. Okay, here comes the first part, the reflection after SFU. And of course, it's an amazing journey because I stepped out of the comfort zone. I made wonderful teachers, and good and kind faculty members, and incredible partners. And I went to several beautiful places, and all the above became unforgettable and valuable memories. Meanwhile, I learned a rich variety of teaching ideas, techniques, and methods that helped me to become a better English teacher. Life in Canada was the magic. You are the magic. And everything I've received will help me to do more teaching magic in the future. Okay, and let's move on to my action plan. My participants are 7th graders. There are 29 students in total. The textbook is Hanlin I English Book 1. As to the context of mine, in the past 12 years, what I've done in the area of English teaching, I remain teacher-oriented and a learning process of skill training. And I've gradually run out of my teaching ideas, and my students might get bored easily. Even worse, learning apathy and mixed student groups have been the most difficult and challenging part for me, in which I've been trying to deal with. Therefore, I thought of the active learning to work on these problems and to help my students love English and become more willing to learn this language. So based on the Charles Bonwell, general characteristics of active learning in the classroom include students are involved in more than listening, students are engaging in activities such as reading, discussing, and writing, and students are involved in higher order thinking by analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. More importantly, greater emphasis is placed on the students' exploration of their own attitudes and values. In other words, during my action research, I tried harder to increase student participation, engagement, retention. Also, I talked less to give my students more ownership and exciting classroom experience to develop their higher level thinking. Okay, from September to December, I tried 4 different curriculums with simple self-introduction, inquiry-based learning, and soft clue. So in September, I designed PPT slides to help my kids to complete their personal introduction. And in each slide, clear sentence patterns and examples were provided to help them to complete their drafts step by step. And students were expected to use numbers, jobs, descriptive adjectives, favorite subjects, hobbies to introduce themselves. And also, they should put the conclusion at the end of the draft. And more importantly, I demonstrated my personal introduction to them to connect the teacher and the students' relationship. I believe that in the well-connected community, I can teach more effectively and my students can learn more successfully. And this is my daughter, and she dreams to be a princess all the time. And she is the Rapunzel now, okay?
A Canadian princess.
Yeah, Canadian princess, and her name is Karen, okay? Okay, and they are students' products, and those drawings are cute. Okay, maybe you can just look at the drawing. They are very simple, but also very impressive. Right? And their drawings are much better than mine. So I have no right to criticize them. Okay? So let's move on to the second part of the inquiry-based learning. And then this time that I use the pictures and the questions to arouse their curiosity. And then I use a set of the questions to develop their independent thinking. And this time I encourage them to read the passage. That's the reading content in the textbook. The reading passage on page 36 on their own. And I encourage them to write down the question marks next to the sentence. They might feel confused. And also I encourage them to write down any questions they wanted to ask on the worksheet. And here come 5 questions in total. And in the very beginning, they were supposed to think on their own. And then I give some time to discuss in a group. And once again, each slide provided enough examples and clues to help them to figure out the correct answers and to write down their English answers more easily, quickly, and correctly. And this graphic organizer helped their mind mapping with the students could describe the correct house from the outside part to the inside part in a more specific and more complicated way. Okay, here comes discussion number 3, number 4, and number 5. Once again, I guided my students to think further by giving them several questions. Also, I like to boost their creativity by telling them to design their dream, special or even weird house, and don't forget to write down the reasons why they designed this house. Okay, so they are students' products, and this is a huge pink castle with a pair of wings, right? And this house is quite simple, but it's also his product. And maybe their English so far isn't very good, but their learning attitude is beyond the description. And I believe as time goes by, their English will get better and better. Okay, in November, I tried hard to combine the geography and the English together. So, this time I want to teach geography time zones in English. And the language forms include number 1, place A is hours behind or ahead of the place B. And number 2, the use of the present progressive form. And also more importantly, I like to cultivate their awareness of their happiness through some pictures and sense some global problems such as poverty and the war. Okay, so in class, I told them to get their tools ready, which were geography textbook and the English textbook. So they felt quite amazed. What? In English? Geography textbook? Are you sure about that? Yes. Okay. And then I started to review this part on page 79 in English textbook. And then we started to discuss why we had so many time zones with the help of their geography textbook. Okay, of course, instead of the too many geographical professional terms, I only taught them some key vocabulary items. Okay, and then we got to understand the major sentence patterns. But before that, I taught the preposition behind and ahead of first. They already knew the meaning of behind. They knew the behind means at the back of. So I used the picture to help them to get a better understanding. But in the context of time, it means slower or later than. And this time to help their retention, I used this picture turtle to help them to keep in mind. Behind, in the context of time, it means slower or later than. And likewise, I used similar patterns to teach them the ahead of. And this time I used the picture rabbit to tell them that the meaning of ahead of means faster. Okay, and after that, it's time for us to do some calculations. Okay, so in this example, Sao Paulo is 3 hours behind London. And it's 5 p.m. in London. So what's the time in Sao Paulo? Everyone? Okay. So what's the time? Okay, the time that should be 2 p.m. And take Paris, for example. It's 5 p.m. in London, and Paris is 1 hour ahead of London. So what's the time in Paris? Yes, thank you. It should be 6 p.m. in Paris. Okay? And after that, I pass around the transcript in which I left the time card in blank. I told my students to discuss, to figure out the correct times in each cities around the globe. And also I gave some time to discuss, to find out their correct answers. And after that, we watched the video together, one moment around the world. After that, we check our answers and reviewed some grammatical points. Okay, and here came 3 shocking pictures. As everyone knows, one picture is worth 1,000 words. So number 1, number 2, and then number 3. And hopefully, through the effect of contrast, my students could understand living in Taiwan and their life were truly priceless and happy. Okay, let's move on to the last part. In December, I still tried again to use Soft Clear to combine the biology and English. And this time, the content knowledge was mutualism, and the language forms included the use of there is, there are, and the use of ordinal numbers, first, second, and the third. And then this time, sorry, I speak high. And this time, each group had to give their performance in the front of the classroom. And each member pretended to be a host or hostess in an educational show for kids. So that's their scripts, and there are 2 columns. One is English and the other one is Chinese, to help them to comprehend the entire meaning. And in the script, there are 4 parts, 4 different students with different learning levels. For advanced learners, they could choose to be student aid, and the scripts are a little beyond the textbook. And if you are language beginners, that is low achievers, that's okay. You could read simple sentences in the textbook. And for intermediate learners, they could read the passage in the textbook aloud or tried hard to turn the graphic organizer into acting with the pictures. Okay, so in this curriculum, I found they got a better understanding of the interaction between the ox pickers and the zebras. And because their performance will be recorded, you can imagine that they really work much harder and more actively. Okay, so that's their performance. Okay, here comes the effective teaching idea. And I want to share the number 1, earn your break. So whenever my student gets sleepy, I will tell my students to stand up first. And then I will ask them the several easy questions to wake them up. As long as they raise their hand and they answer my questions correctly, then you are welcome to sit down. And the number 2 that I usually use, Taiwanese phonetic symbols to teach my students. I think that's quite incredible. For example, A, long vowel, A. I put A and put E, A, and it's better, okay? And through this help, it's better for them to build a connection between the spelling and the sound, okay? Finally, the entire program is coming to the end, but the journey of teaching and learning never ends, right? And in my opinion, it's the best of times. Why? Just look at us. There are abundant and multiple teaching resources, but unfortunately, it's the worst of times. Why? More and more teachers, parents, and even the entire social atmosphere devalued our teaching profession. But even though, I think we still have multiple possible solutions to work out many sorts of problems. If plan A didn't work, don't worry, we still have plan B, plan C, plan A, B, C, D to work out the many situations. So let's stay cool. All the above is my presentation. Thanks for listening.